and really afterwards you'll not find it as changing as you would have considered it beforehand, because everything that was still is, but there's a light added to it that makes it all a lot more pleasant and agreeable. Even the problems that you used to struggle with.
It's a weird when you go into life changing. Yeah, life changing for me is so strong. It's such a strong statement.
But it's afterwards you can't deny. Yeah, I had no idea what I wasn't seeing, but now that I see it, I can only say that it is life changing. But it changes things in a completely different way than you would beforehand consider life changing. So your life doesn't really change that much, but the way you experience it is just a whole different deal. It's like you normally are frustrated by the arguments you have with your loved one, and now those same arguments give you a clear understanding of the amount of love that flows between you. It's the same world, but it's a completely different experience. And you don't even have to do anything for it, it's automatic. That's what happens. And there where it is not contributing and love and all the words that we normally use to describe those situations, we see what it is we can do in order to improve it, or whether it's or whether what we could do is going to take away the pleasure that we know we can have. So then we leave it. Whatever way, we're at peace with that. So things will change, but not as dramatically as you would consider beforehand. But it will change your life, that's for sure.
There's one aspect of the talk so far that it's another dimension, which when we go into groups, into larger, you know, since I worked at the Top Call at the business, and I had to arrange for those groups. Mm-hmm. I found that in groups that share common goals or common problems, that was the most shocking for me, the most shocking experience, because I never imagined it possible. And my question is, how do you see what it is that you do in terms of the group? What is it? How would you describe what it is in terms of a group? Because we've discussed individual so far, but what is it in a group?
First of all, if you ask it like that, I don't really know, but I know I can give you an explanation of what I do, but all I say when I do that is that it's only an example of how I see myself behave differently than what I know the market has to offer. Is that for me it's not about what somebody does, but what he's aware of that he shouldn't be doing. Yeah. So in this sense, I am still learning. So I'm learning more and more of even what I already do, how that stands in the way of the discovery that's possible for people individually and as a group. Okay. So what I do is I make people aware of the frustrations and the anxieties and the difficulties that they experience. That's not a personal thing. That if I like somebody, that it's very likely that those people like me. And that if I don't like somebody, that there's something about me that they probably won't like. And so that means that there's a lot of the things that we think are personal and relay only to us, and where we find ourselves separate from other people and in our own world, that isn't necessarily the case. That all the things that we're struggling with personally are very likely problems that everybody struggles with. Only some people have found different solutions than others. But if we come to look at the situation in which we still experience difficulty, that we're all the same. And that there's no difference between a manager and a subordinate, for instance, or between a trainer and somebody that's in the training as a trainee. That in that sense we're all the same, but it could be that somebody, in this case me personally, has had more experience with reflecting on the consequences of that human nature if it's unaware, and can help people become more aware in that same direction. And the ultimate outcome that I see for me personally in that situation is that it regularly happens, that those people that pick up on the issue that I'm bringing forward take it into their own world, and all of a sudden bring forward distinctions and realizations that help me to understand myself even better. But the similarity in that whole situation is that we're all human in that sense, and that there's nothing that separates us. It's actually something that not combines, not integrates, but that unites us. And if that unison is achieved in a group, for instance within a company, as we did with Ordina and within Topco, then there's a group of people that have been struggling in their individual ways to solve the issues that are actually a company issue or an organizational issue, and they all of a sudden realize that they can work at that in unison, and that we've given them a principled way or a way to go about it, where we're not adding one and one and making it two, so we're trying to find a combination of people that complement each other in terms of their abilities, but that we have found a way that whatever the group is, that if everybody goes from the assumption that we're struggling with the same issue principally, then all of a sudden each and everybody's discovery in that environment exponentially adds to the awareness of the group, and then all of a sudden any group can function better in that way than they could ever work if they go at it from a conventional way. So as the way that we speak about it in terms of organizations, that it's not about the organization, but about how the work is organized. And that's the principle that we bring forward in these groups. This is how you try it and see what happens, and all of a sudden everybody experiences a growth of awareness as a group that is unparalleled with anything they experienced before. And we what we do now is we assume, which is an assumption, I have never seen it falsified, is that that's what people refer to when they say flow. Yeah? But we found a way to achieve flow through a structural approach to the way you interact with one another, from the awareness that in essence people are all the same. They just have a different shape or a different background from which they approach the interaction.
What I've always found strange and hard to explain to them is that when we go into a group of, say, higher level consultants, where all, these people have done years of training, and they're very skeptical, of course, before they even they sit, and then I see that there's a dramatic change in terms of the meaning that they give to their work and the gratification they have from their interactions in general. What would you describe as what besides the fact that the light is on, let's say, what would you describe as that shift? How would you describe that shift for them?